leave somebody for all those who don't know what sociocracy is. Sociocracy is a governance structure very similar to democracy, but it's very different. So basically, it is ruled by consent instead of by consensus. Simply what that means, instead of having a vote on items that people would like to see and to get the popular vote, instead we look for if anybody has any objections to any proposal or motions or any of that stuff. It's a parliamentary system that allows for more flat power structure, allowing more people voices to be heard. In fact, the whole goal is to make sure everyone's voice is heard.
Well, when you said something extra needs to be added, I think Richard called it. I would call it a facilitator. Some people would call it a moderator.
No, those are two separate roles. There's a facilitator, someone that conducts the meetings and makes sure the meeting one's on track. And there's the moderator. When I mean one's on track, that means making sure people are staying on topic, making sure everyone's heard, and making sure the discussion produces a kind of result. And the moderator, his job is to make sure that the interpersonal things in the meeting stay in check. So making sure people, are, staying within the time limits, are, staying respectful, and have all the making sure they're all on the right pages of material. That's what the moderator does.
So you have two people watching for.
Yeah, because the facilitator is paying attention not to every person, they're paying attention to like the agenda and to everything in hand in the conversation, while the moderators pay attention to actual participants in the meeting, make sure they're participating correctly.
Okay, thank you.
I do tend to stay with my original feeling that it is a willingness to hold each other accountable that is the difference between success and failure of any sort of organization. I've seen within organizations all the work come grinding to a halt because one person wants to insist on things being a particular way.
Yes.
and therein lies the rub. So it's holding people like that accountable and getting them to understand that they've put on the brakes and the rest of us would like to move forward. That's maybe the question that needs to be answered. Whether or not that becomes something automatic or something someone has to call out. I don't know how you could automate such a function, though. It would be nice if one could.
Accountability is hugely important. You're right. I think having systems in place and assuming that even those systems might fail, and if they do, then what? I think, sort of thinking that way in terms of how processes are developed is really important. And I think, having seen the code of conduct too, I think that code of conduct is sort of taking that into consideration. But I definitely agree. Accountability and its effectiveness and people's willingness to participate in it and accept it is the whole difference. But I think there isn't a lot of accountability built into just, I didn't hear no in every case.
Imagine that if you would a sociocratic process that also included any single member's rights to call for an affirmation, an individual affirmation, and a recall process.
I have a question for Nissan and Richard. Are your meetings have both facilitators and moderators?
Yes.
Wherever possible. Our numbers are so few that people who are capable of doing facilitation and moderation are few and far between. So we do have meetings that go on without a full complement of people to guide the meeting. But wherever possible, yes.
The reason because my meeting is so small, we can barely make a round. So Thank you. I know what to work towards.
In our groups, we generally have the five basic roles, and that's facilitator, uh, moderator slash admin, uh, depending on what group you're talking about. Then you have the coordinator, and the delegate, and finally the worker, or what also we call the task lead. So we expect those five roles to be in every circle, but due to low personnel, that can't always happen. The minimum amount of people we need to actually form a circle is technically 3. You see, if you have 3 and then there's 5 roles, you're going to have some overlap.
Can you say those 5 roles again?
Of course. First role is the facilitator, which is also sometimes referred to as the chair, because it's similar to Robert's Rules chair, which job is to conduct the meeting and make sure it stays on agenda and on topic and make sure everybody's heard, and to try to, condense the material into something that's understandable, or to help get points across of understanding. The second one is the moderator slash admin. Their job is to make sure everybody gets into the meeting, make sure everybody and monitors the people in the meeting to make sure they're properly participating within the rules and limits of the meeting, and to make sure everybody's on the same page with the material. So they make sure everybody has access to the material and stuff. Then you have the coordinator. The coordinator is the person from the parent circle who then advocates on behalf of the parent circle the duties and aims and agenda of the parent circle to the delegated circle. So, and they make sure that all the delegate circle is on track and fulfilling its aim in accordance with the aim of the parent circle. And then you have the delegate, which they are the representative of the delegated circle sent to the parent circle. So all the information is filtered to the delegate and passed to the parent circle through the delegate. So they take the aim, the duties, and the results of all the information and the agendas of their circle to the parent circle as the circle's representative. And finally, you have the task lead or worker, where they're dedicated into actually performing and carrying out the duties assigned to actually complete the aim of the circle. That's literally their only job, to make sure that the aim of the circle and the duties are carried out. Any questions there, Tom?
So you said that these 5 roles can be shared amongst 3 people?
Yes. Sometimes it's a must, because if there's only 3 people and there's 5 roles, it's going to collapse.
Okay. Good. I thank you. That makes a lot of clarity for me. Well, I think that in groups I've been in before, we used to have an accountability process that we hung on the mantle in the room we met in. And generally it was done, people wanted to get back into accountability with the group, and they were used the process on themselves. Well, actually we had a round called clearings. That's what I remember. We had clearings. And if you had an issue with another person in the room, then you did a process called a clearing. And there was a process that was facilitated. And then if you felt out of accountability with the group, then you could do the accountability process to get back into integrity with the group. And we did all that before we started our shares, because we needed to have a clean container to start. So I like the rounds and the everybody gets to speak.
I I think to summarize all this thing, we've explored many facets of sociocracy. We have seen, and Elayna has expressed her discontent due to the many incidents she had within groups that practice versions of sociocracy. We have laid out, come to some understanding of, the position of power and the general nature of humans and how they interact with systems and the certain shortcomings of the human beings that we have to take into account. And I believe here we also did a summary of sociocracy and its functioning. So I think that wraps everything up.